In this lesson, we're going to learn how to identify independent and dependent events. Knowing the difference between the two can be very helpful for finding probabilities. Two events are independent if the outcome of the first event does not affect the outcome of the second event, and two events are dependent if the outcome of the first event does affect the outcome of the second event. Let's take a look at the first example. Elena picks a marble at random and checks what color it is. Without putting the first marble back, she picks a second marble at random and checks the color. Are these two events dependent or independent? Remember that two events are dependent if the outcome of the first event affects the outcome of the second event. If Elena picks one marble and doesn't put it back, when she goes to pick another one, she has fewer options, so the options for the second event have changed. Because the first event did have an effect on the second event, the two events are dependent. Let's take a look at a specific case to make sure we understand why the outcome of the first pick affects the second one. If Elena picks a yellow marble first, what happens to her second pick? Her second pick is now more likely to be blue and less likely to be yellow, so the first pick affected the second one. Let's do another one. Luke picks a marble at random, checks the color, and puts it back. Then he picks another marble at random and checks the color. Are these two events dependent or independent? Since Luke puts the marble back after the first pick, he has the exact same options when he goes to pick a marble the second time. Because the first event does not have an effect on the second event, the two events are independent. Let's take a look at another example. At Laura's Pizzeria, Jason and his friends decide on the type of pizza to order for lunch. An hour later, another group of friends also picks a pizza to order. Are these two events dependent or independent? Two events are dependent if the outcome of the first event affects the outcome of the second event. The pizza the first group of friends choose to order does not affect the pizza the second group can order. Because the first event does not have an effect on the second event, the two events are independent. Now let's go to the next example. Martina and Nolan need to schedule appointments with the same doctor. Martina calls in the morning and picks one of the open appointment times. In the afternoon, Nolan calls to schedule one of the remaining appointment times. Are these two events dependent or independent? Once Martina picks an appointment time, Nolan cannot pick that same time, and so has fewer time slots to choose from. Because the first event had an effect on the second event, the two events are dependent. Now let's take a look at our final example. Ms. Jones has all her students do reports on historical figures from a pre-approved list that she makes each year. Jeremiah picks his figure first, and then Ryan selects his. There are no repeats allowed. Are these two events dependent or independent? Once Jeremiah chooses a person to do his report on, Ryan cannot choose that same person, and so will have one fewer person to choose from, since no repeats are allowed. Because the first event did have an effect on the second event, the two events are dependent. Now that we're done, you can try doing a few on your own.